My sincerest apologies, everyone. That phone call took a little bit longer than I was expecting. But let's go ahead and move on to the newest chapter of My Hero. This probably won't take too long, seeing as how fast I can get through a My Hero Academia chapter. Let's get started. So, yo, peoples, cute Shoe 92 here, and I am on the wrong Viz page. I am so sorry. My hero is right here. Let's do this right. Yo, peoples, Q92 here, and welcome back to yet another My Hero Academia chapter reaction and review. Last we left off, we were told by All For One that he plans everything years, even decades in advance. And unlike when he was talking to Toya, because Toya was ready to go out there and try to make Endeavor's life miserable, because that's just the person he is. But All For One told him, like, I'm sure you and I are both the same in wanting to get this over with, and we have similarities, but where you and I differ is that I have friends to spare. And when he says that, it ends the chapter zoning in on Hagakure. Now, I kept calling her Hakagure in the last reaction I did. I apologize for that. I kept mispronouncing her name the entire time, and I was thinking, am I saying her name wrong? I feel like I am, but I still kept doing it. Her name is Hagakure. Hagakure, not Hakagure. So I'm glad to have gotten that resolved. So it zones in on Hagakure, insinuating that Hagakure herself is someone that All For One has under his wing. And since she's the student in Class 1A with the invisibility quirk, she could very well end up being the mole. But here we have a cover page where it shows numerous people from Class 1A, including that one guy from the newest My Hero Academia movie, around animals that pretty much represent them. It shows Midoriya next to like a big ram, like a bighorn sheep. It shows Bakugo with a big giant wolf. It shows Aizawa with a giant cat with bells on it. It has Hawks with a hawk. It has Ida on top of a horse. It has Kirishima on top of a big tortoise. It has Shoto right next to a snow leopard. It has Present Mike on the back of a giant parrot. It looks like a smaller cat is on Shinzo. And the guy from the My Hero Academia movie, he has that little bird that's with him. I don't know his name because I was not able to watch the movie. I will as soon as I get the chance. But let's move on to the next. Let's move on to this newest chapter. And it has Midoriya sparring with Bakugo. And it's being narrated by Bakugo himself. We don't get the name of the chapter quite yet, but it has Bakugo narrating, with him saying, Endeavor taught us that build up and release stuff, but I ain't settling for just one blast. I'm saving up beads of sweat for a barrage of booms all at once. That's what powers my new cluster upgrade, and gives a big boost to every move I've got. It takes a while to heat up enough, though. Hence the winter costume. Overheating drains me fast, so it's a choice I gotta make. And then it shows Midoriya having been on the receiving end of this attack with poofed up afro singed hair, saying, Todoroki is also trying something different. And it shows Shoto trying to combine his powers together? Still figuring it out, though. I think I can control my left side just as well as my right now, in order to achieve a body even Dabi can't burn. Yes, he is. He's trying to combine both his powers together. Right and left, my entire body, as one. And as he's doing this, he's coughing because he's trying to work it all out. Then it has Kaminari sitting with Mineta, with Kaminari saying, they're saying this is going to be an all-out war or whatever, but, aren't the top two bad guys kind of on the ropes now? And then we get the chapter name, Chapter 336, Villain. Plus, we got Gigantomachia tied down and snoozing, right? Can't we make quick work of those villains once we find them? And then Bakugo says, there are 3 reasons why that ain't the case. 3 whole reasons? First, finding them all is unlikely. Sure, the good guys found the Nomu hangar, Shigaraki's hideout, and all those secret labs, but no one's ever tracked down the big bad himself, ever since he lost to All Might. Old Nutsack Face is the world champ at hide-and-seek. That's a nickname that's gonna stick around for a long time! Old Nutsack Face! And then Yaoyorozu chimes in saying, Reason 2, Shigaraki's body wasn't even complete last time, while this time our own forces have thinned to half their former numbers. Yep. And then after what Bakugo called All for One, Jiro's in the background saying, gross, knock it off. And then Bakugo comes back with the third reason, saying, and third, they're the ones with the finger on this trigger. Even if we might have lost that search quirk in the battle against the U.S., they still get to make the opening move. That's why our side's calling up every able body we got. Sheer numbers will give us a chance. And then Midoriya chimes in, saying, if nothing else, we can choose how to enter this fight, hopefully in a way that steers it in our favor. I'd better rejoin the search, too. And then Ida's right behind Midoriya, hitting him square in the head to the point where his afro comes over his eye, saying, don't you mean we had better? And then he just smiles at Ida. And then he says, right, we. On that note, think I can go for a quick stroll? I don't see why not, says Ida. Relations between the hero corps and the evacuees have grown warmer since Uraraka's stirring speech. And then Uraraka's just kind of blushing from all this. And then Kirishima's saying, I guess. Even with his back against the wall, All for One still got that grin on his face. Then it cuts to the woods. And who's in the woods? Hagakure is in the woods, thinking, ever since the stuff in Gunga and Jaku, you've been down in the dumps. I mean, we all felt that way, but still. And then she's, no. She's just she's watching all of them talk. She's watching all of them talk! No, she's watching someone else talk! This isn't the UA students. They're talking to someone else. You don't have a choice. Another order's just come in from him. Don't worry, this is just like always. Even if they intercept the message, it's in code. They'll just think it's communication between civilians. And no security cameras will catch us in this spot, right? It's fine. Yes, just fine. Wow. I had to wonder why you haven't smiled once since Midoriya came back to us. I was just worried. Everything leading up to Kamino, you always pulled off. Just what All for One asked. What? Oh! Yo! He is! Yo! Aoyama's a spy too! Wait, what if it isn't Hagakure? It is Aoyama! Oh! Woo! It's Aoyama! It's Aoyama! What if it's Hagakure and Aoyama? Also, to that individual that says that my overacting is fake, that scream was for you. Aoyama is out there in the woods and Hagakure is looking at him! But she's not part of the group that's talking to him. Whoever he's talking to is all like, everything leading up to Kamino, you always pulled off just what All for One asked. Fail now and he'll kill us. You know that, Yuga. It's Yuga, Aoyama Yuga. It's Aoyama. And is he talking to his parents? He's talking to his parents. His parents are a part of his group. His parents are a part of it as well. His whole family's in on it. And I guess his mother is saying, for nearly the moment you started school here, you've honored his every request. You've even provided him the forest training camp locations, and nobody was ever the wiser. Wow, Yo, Horikoshi! You faked us out! You made it seem like he could have been the spy, and then flipped it and made it seem like, Aoyama's just really resonating really resonating with Midoriya, and that's why he's so weird. Because he and Aoyama have two quirks that causes harm to their bodies, so that caused them to be like bosom buddies in that way. And then we just threw it out the window. One of you guys just sent a comment in my last video, in my last My Hero Academia reaction, saying like, what if it's Aoyama? And that was yesterday. I don't know if that person read an early scan. I didn't pay any attention to it, but here we have Aoyama. Stop talking with his mom and dad. And he's just bawling. His eyes are just filled with tears. He's covered in tears. Like tears and snot coming out of his nose. He says, Mama, Papa, but I... And then his mother says, You must know we never wanted any of this, and yet it's too late to turn back. Wait, Hagakure is not part of it because she's watching this and she's invisible and she's watching this all go down. And since she's invisible, she's thinking, you gotta be kidding me. It can't be true. Aoyama, all this time? And then his mother says, we only ever wanted to give you a shot at happiness in life. And it shows Aoyama as a kid in their fancy looking home. And then apparently someone is saying, you want to be the same as the others, Yuga? Yeah, because being different is scary. And I guess the kids... Wait! Aoyama was quirkless? So he resonated with Midoriya more than we thought. Aoyama used to be quirkless. So with the kids, there's the narration is saying, you had no quirk to call your own, so we just wanted to help you fit in. And then his parents are saying, so you could... No, his parents were saying that. You had no quirk to call your own, so we wanted to help you fit in. So you could chase your dreams like the rest of them. We never would have done it if we'd known how this would play out. We never would have had All for One give you a quirk. Aoyama is the spy. Because Aoyama wanted to fit in with the rest of the kids, his parents came under the service of All for One. After All for One gave Aoyama his naval laser quirk, Aoyama is the Draco Malfoy of My Hero. And All for One is Voldemort. We never would have had All for One give you a quirk. And then it shows All for One with his hands just towards them. And then they're saying, but we're in too deep now. Now that he has his hold over us, there's no running from All for One. And then it just causes Aoyama to keep crying. And Hagakure is thinking, I've got to find someone, a teacher, anyone. And then Hagakure is looking on, and Aoyama is thinking, I've endured so much heartache. I had to play my part right. To avoid suspicion, always putting on a brave face to smother my guilty conscience. When All for One was finally caught in Camino, for a moment I mistakenly let myself believe that just maybe I was free to have true friends and put an end to my acting. Oh, Yuga, please forgive us. Forgive your loving parents for being such fools. Oh, Mama, Papa, I only wanted to protect you. I cannot let him kill you. And then his mother says, Yuga, please, we're begging you. You have to save us, Yuga. And then as he says this, there's a rustle, and who is it? But Midoriya. Midoriya is there. Midoriya is coming out of the... There is so much happening in this chapter right now. There's a rustle, and Midoriya is standing with Hagakure. Hagakure got him. Of all the people, she got Midoriya. And Midoriya's just looking on awestruck. Hagakure just told me what she heard. That the traitor in our midst is you, Aoyama. And his parents... ridiculously nervous right now because they've been found out. Is all like, what nonsense, how ridiculous, that girl must have misheard. And Aoyama's just standing there, just tears covered, just face covered in tears, saying, Midoriya, oh Midoriya, I was the only one who couldn't say a word to you. In that moment, only I was silent. Yes, Aoyama was the only one who really didn't say anything to Midoriya when he came back. Everyone said something except Aoyama. And then Aoyama is just... And then Midoriya says, Aoyama, Stop! I can't take it! Not from you! And then it shows Aoyama reading a letter back then. And then Midoriya says, You've been looking so gloomy lately. Only you. I thought something must be wrong, so I came looking for you out here. And then Aoyama stops bawling and he just stares at Midoriya. And then Aoyama just thinks to himself, Yes, only me. I always wanted to feel equal. Then he explains, at USJ, and then in the forest, and then his parents are all like, Yuga, no! And then Aoyama just lets it out. Each time I led them to us. Do you hear me, Midoriya? I am a despicable villain. And remember back when Aoyama put those cheese pieces on the ground where he says, I know? That's the last thing. That's the last thing that happens in this chapter. Wow! What a turnaround! Wow! 14 people? Where did all of y'all come from? I normally don't have this many people during my My Hero Academia reactions. So, color me surprised to see this many people here. Wow! Wow! Horikoshi just pumped the world with the last chapter! Yo! He got me, he got you, he got everybody! And it was Aoyama the whole time. And people even made good points that even made it seem like Hagakure was the spy, because one of the people who came out, I think it was actually Nico. It could have been Nico or someone else. Someone told me in my last reaction that Hagakure, I'm going to get her name right. I'm never going to mispronounce it again. Hagakure was the one who suggested going to the mall, the very same mall that Shigaraki encountered Midoriya at. And I was thinking, that makes sense. And then I was thinking, you know what? Who better to be a spy than a person who could turn invisible? But Horikoshi just said like, nah fam, you think it's so obvious, but it's not. And then he comes around and reveals that Aoyama was the spy this whole time. His parents came under the employ of All For One because Aoyama, as a child, didn't like being different from the rest of the kids in his class. He was born quirkless, so his parents asked All For One to give him a quirk, and in the process, like, one of these days, I'm gonna ask you to do me a service. One of these days, and I pray that day never comes. I'm gonna ask you to do a service for me. And All For One just godfathered his parents. And like I said, Aoyama is like the Draco Malfoy of My Hero Academia. Both his parents want to get out of this life, but they can't because the person that they're under is so immensely powerful that they'll basically just die if they just try to leave. Just like the Malfoys and Voldemort. Is there a chapter next week? It says that we're getting a chapter next week. If I'm going from the full listing here, it says the next chapter is in 7 days, but that's subject to change. You never know. But oh my goodness, this chapter just said, like, you may think you know, but you have no idea. Horikoshi. See, this is why Horikoshi is one of the best mangakas out there right now. People can say whatever they want about My Hero Academia, but it's a phenomenally written story. The twists and turns just make sense, and it just blow my mind every single time. I can never get enough of Horikoshi's writing when it comes to this story. It is good. It is amazing. And this chapter just exemplifies that, because now we're getting, oh my goodness, Aoyama is the spy because his parents did it because Aoyama didn't want to be different. He wanted to be just like his classmates. He wanted to fit in. As a child, he wanted to fit in with his classmates. And because his parents saw that, they made a literal deal with the devil. Just so Aoyama could play with his friends and feel among them. And because of that, now Aoyama has no choice but to do as All for One says, or he'll kill them all. So it wasn't Hagakure who led them to the training camp that one day. It wasn't Hagakure who let them know of the hidden training they did in the forest with the wild pussycats. Everything, every secretive thing that happened in My Hero for the Heroes that the villains somehow end up knowing about, it wasn't Hagakure. It was Aoyama. All this time. Now, we can see the pain in Aoyama's face. He doesn't want to do this. The very fact that All for One was beaten by All Might during their final fight was a moment where he thought, can we escape? Can we finally be free of this madness? And he actually thought that he could be free from All for One. But now All for One is out there in the world now, and the whole thought process of finally being freed from his madness is now shattered. And it's coming to a point where Aoyama really can't take it anymore. Just his parents bringing up his past to him and realizing that he's been a traitor to all of the people he calls friends and family. It is too much for this guy to bear. So does this mean that Aoyama and his parents probably got bombs in them like Lady Nagant? There's absolutely no way. There's absolutely no way that Aoyama and his family are just walking out there and All for One doesn't have some contingency to ensure that they follow his every whim without question, unless something like that is in them. For all we know, he could have bombs in every single flunky he has. And if they do anything to displease him, or do anything to go against his wishes, or even try and betray him, he could just set them off, just like he did Lady Nagant. I don't believe Lady Nagant's the only person that had like a self-implosion quirk in her. He probably has it in everyone to ensure that they all follow his commands or risk dying. Kind of like how Slade had like a Crotonon detonator and it put all those little microscopic nanobots inside of the Titans, and then he made Robin work for him under the pretense of, if you do not follow me, if you do not serve me, if you disobey even the slightest request, I will destroy them, Robin, from the inside out, and I'll make you watch. That is the whole angle that All for One has right now over everyone, including potentially having bombs inside of Aoyama and his parents as well. Let me see what y'all are saying. So does this mean that, the laser quirk is good though, but it's incompatible with his body? So it's not the fact that his quirk functions like Midoriya's and that it causes harm to his body. It's just that the quirk is not compatible with him. That panel where he was reading the letter Deku, the letter that Deku left, was the moment he knew Deku was exactly like him. Exactly like him. Aoyama and Midoriya have more in common than we thought. It's not just the fact that their quirks seem like they're incompatible with their bodies and cause more harm than good. No, it's the fact that they were both quirkless and were given quirks. One from the most powerful superhero the world has ever seen, and the other from the most powerful supervillain the world has ever seen. Juxtapositions of how they gained their powers, but they're linked because they both were quirkless in the beginning. Maybe Aoyama can't unlock its full potential, but even if, I think it's still not a great quirk. And in the last two panels, his eyes turn from white to black. What does that mean? It means that Aoyama his eyes are turning all white the way they were before, but now his eyes are turned black because I guess he's just, since he's been found out and he's seen as a villain, one could say that his whole mentality is, it could possibly be switching. I guess he feels like since he's in front of Midoriya now, which is the very subject of what All For One is trying to go after right now, maybe he sees like this is it. There's no going back. Maybe, because remember how, what is her name? I forget her name. Yachiro Unohana. I was trying to get her name from Bleach out of my head so hard, that's why I couldn't come up with it. Remember how Unohana looked before she was revealed to be the first Kenpachi? Yachiro Unohana, not Retsu Unohana, and there was vibrant color in her eyes. But as soon as her true nature was exposed, her eyes just went from vibrant color and full of life to just dead, murderous intent. It could be that Aoyama sees that he has absolutely no way out from this, and he's just resolving him. He just could be mentally, he could possibly see himself as, after all I've done, I might as well be a villain, so maybe I'll just embrace the role completely. That could be the reason why his eyes changed from whatever color they were to just straight black. Maybe he's mentally just becoming the very villain that everyone is going to see him as in order to just, you know what? Everyone sees me as a villain now. I might as well just go through the whole act then. That could be the representation of his eyes changing from the vibrant color they were to straight black. That's just my assumption. It could mean something different. Just spoiled everyone who didn't read Bleach. My apologies. I mean, if you haven't read Bleach after all this time, my apologies, but I'm just making a comparison there. I don't feel any regrets about saying what I said. I'm just saying my apologies. So, going forward from there, it can be assumed that Aoyama is just embracing his whole villain role there. Possibly. But let's also touch on the other things. Let's touch on the other things that happened in this chapter, such as the rest of the students training and learning how to harness their quirks, like Bakugo's learning how to gather more and more of his sweat so he can use his more powerful moves in quick succession. We have Shoto learning how to channel both his heat side and his cold side. I know the sides I pointed to are the wrong sides, but it shows him channeling his power, learning how to use both his powers at the exact same time, so he can make it so that even Dabi can't turn his body, so even Dabi can't burn his body. That's what's going on in Midoriya's training as well, but we don't see too much of him learning how to do anything new. We just saw more from Bakugo and Shoto, and they were just talking about all the things that are going on. Like, let me go back to what they're basically doing here at the beginning. Kaminari brought up that Gigantomachia is tied down and is in complete sedation. It shows this massive security area. It's not a massive security area. This is a training area where all of them are at. I'm trying to read what the sign says, but it's just too small. I can't really make it out. But Bakugo brings up a point that, sure, the good guys found the Nomu hangar, Shigaraki's hideout, and all these secret labs, but no one's ever tracked down the big bad himself ever since he lost to All Might. All for One is the world champ at hide and seek, and because the thing is, Kaminari says, aren't the top two bad guys kind of on the ropes? And Bakugo says, first off, no one's been able to find All for One. Then Yaoyorozu says that Shigaraki's body wasn't even complete last time. Well, this time our own forces have thinned to half their former numbers. So they're down more people when Shigaraki wasn't even fully complete yet. And then the third reason is they're the ones with the finger on this trigger. Even if he might have lost that search quirk in the battle against the US, they still get to make the opening move. That's why our side's calling up every able body we got. Sheer numbers will give us a chance. And then Midoriya says, if nothing else, we can choose how to enter this fight, hopefully in a way that steers it in our favor. I better rejoin the search as well. So, with them insinuating that possibly All for One has lost access, or at least All for One and Shigaraki have lost access to the search quirk. So he could very well have missed out on this. And in the next panel, it shows Hagakure out in the forest, but then we find out that Aoyama is in fact the spy. All for One gave him a quirk, and in doing so, his parents and his entire family are under All for One's employ, and they have no hope of getting out, otherwise he'll kill them. Then Midoriya shows up after Hagakure. I'm going to make sure I don't mispronounce it. After Hagakure gets him, and Midoriya pretty much finds out that Aoyama is the traitor. The traitor from the very beginning. I made a big old massive rant about all of this. Way back. Well, not way back, but in the last reaction that I did. And I was thinking about all the ways that Hagakure was the spy. And now we find out that Aoyama is the spy. Now I got to go back and look at all the things that Aoyama did at the most pivotal moments where the villains found out where they were. Where was Aoyama during all of these events? Now we got to go back and find out what Aoyama was doing leading up to Shigaraki, Nomu, and Kurogiri getting into the camp. The others, shorter villains, and Spinner, and the rest of them getting into the forest with the Wild Wild Pussycats, and everything else. Where was Aoyama during all of these events? Because he could very well have been in the background, not saying anything and being silent, and that could have been the tell. Look at chapter 14. Everyone looks to the front, only Aoyama does not. Oh, we about to do some research right now. Of course, I'm not going to show the images on screen. I've been told that I suck for not showing the images on screen, but it would suck even more if me showing these images on screen actually gets a copyright strike on my channel and keeps me from streaming. So I'd rather suck and still be able to stream than not suck and then not be able to give you guys what I actually want to on this channel. So I'd rather do that. If people tell me that I suck for not showing images on the screen, I'd rather suck and have full access to my channel than not being able to at all. So if anyone has an issue with me not showing the images on the channel, tough. Not apologizing for it. But going back to chapter 14, we're about to do some research right now. Chapter 14 is Encounter with the Unknown. Everyone is looking towards the front, and you can see their faces. Like, everyone. Aoyama is the only one whose faces you really cannot discern because he's kind of looking backwards towards the back more than anyone else. Now, Ojiro is up at the top, and he's kind of looking in one direction, but at least you can make out his face. Aoyama is the only one on this cover right now that is kind of looking backwards. And if you remember, if anyone's been keeping up with One Piece, remember how Kanjiro was kind of shown not to look in the same... I think it was in the opening before the more recent opening of One Piece, where Kanjiro was shown to be looking in a completely separate direction than anyone else. And then we find out that Kanjiro was the traitor. Well, in Chapter 14, everyone's looking forward with a triumphant look on their face, but Aoyama's the only one who's looking in a direction that doesn't correlate to that direction that everyone's looking in. So, wow. A nice little touch there. I wonder how Todoroki's mixing his power will look like. Shoto will be so OP, he can create steam, hot gas, etc. When you mix water with ice, I mean, you can create a smoke screen with steam. You can create burning steam. Who knows? Maybe he could combine his ice to have heated insides and they become heated projectiles. Burning ice bullets or burning icicles or whatever. Overall, now we know. No more speculation, everyone. Aoyama is the traitor. He has been from the very beginning. He's been the traitor since he was a child. So that means that All For One had his family under his employ and made it so that they could get him into UA. Because remember, All For One says that he makes plans on top of plans, years and even decades in advance. So after having Aoyama get this quirk, he probably waited until Aoyama was a little bit older, until either Aoyama wanted to be into UA, or he convinced his parent, or All For One convinced his parents to get into UA, so that Aoyama could end up being his mole on the inside. Because what better leverage can a person have over the parents than their children? All For One's thought of everything. You wouldn't want anything to happen to your son if you don't do this service for me, would you? Think about it. There's no better leverage to have over two grown people than their children. People will do anything to keep their children safe. Especially if they deeply and truly love them, people will go and bend over backwards, make the impossible possible, just to make sure that their children are safe. So, what do? I wouldn't be surprised if All For One was the one who put this idea of putting Aoyama into UA into their heads, and they may not have wanted it at first, but threats against Aoyama's life could have convinced them to put him into UA, giving All For One access to the goings-on inside of UA during Aoyama's time in there, with no possible way for the parents to see a way out, given the nature of who All For One actually is. So for all we know, Aoyama could have been put in UA against his will, simply because All For One wanted someone on the inside. I mean, as you can see, this was tearing this boy up. Every mention, and I know it's bright outside, but it's kind of dark here in my room. I hope that isn't too off-putting to you guys. I'll get a light for when I do my reaction for the One Piece episode. This is tearing this boy up from the inside out, knowing that he's betraying his friends, all the fun moments that they had, all of the hardships that they've shared. This is eating him up from the inside, and he just can't take it. Now, whether my theory of him embracing his villain role is what's going to be what happens in the next chapter remains to be seen, such as him just like, okay, so you see me for the man that I am, I might as well just go full force with it, because with the whole eye color change, he could, for the most part, just rebel, but we don't know if he has bombs inside of him that'll go off, just in case All For One put them in them, or if he just goes full force and embraces his role as a villain. And for all we know, like one of you guys pointed out, what if I think it was Karma who said, what if he has an extra quirk in him? Because Lady Nagant had her regular sniper arm rifle quirk, but she also had the ability to float in the air. So for all we know, Aoyama could have another quirk inside of him, on the off chance that he was found out, that could help him get away or help him fight, on top of the naval laser that All For One gave him. A lot of theories that we can think about, but we're just going to have to wait until next week. We'll have to see if the next chapter truly comes out next week or if it goes on break, because when it says to be continued, it's really up in the air whether they continue to get the next chapter out or if it actually goes on break, so I'll just keep my eyes out. I told this to my One Piece reaction crew that should anything change, I'll let you guys know in the community tab or I'll let you know in the Discord if you're a part of either. So I'll keep everyone informed should anything change for any chapters this upcoming next Sunday. Overall, this chapter just proves that Horikoshi is a very, very beyond capable writer. He is able to come back and bring back things to our remembrance, but also make these things make sense. I honestly don't know why people have a problem with Horikoshi's writing. And the thing is, these people are very selective about it. They're very selective about what upsets them. They can enjoy so many different chapters, and then one chapter just says like, Horikoshi's a horrible writer. I'm never gonna read his stuff again. But then these same people will be like 300 chapters in, like we are right now, and it's like, if you had a problem with Horikoshi's writing from the beginning, you probably should have stopped. But the fact that you keep coming back to every single chapter just proves that Horikoshi is actually a very capable and engaging writer, and you want to know what happens next. Of course, you have people that just complain for the sake of complaining, and they really don't give any reasons of why they don't like My Hero Academia. Like they say like, Midoriya is a trash character. Doesn't make sense. Midoriya is a greatly written character. Or, I don't like how they did Stars and Stripe. I don't like how she's dead. Horikoshi is a horrible writer because he killed off Stars and Stripe. No, Star and Stripe served her purpose, and she did it magnificently. So I don't get the whole angle for that. I just feel like people who complain about stuff that they are not capable of writing better themselves should probably stop complaining about things that they don't have control over. Sure, there are plenty of things in My Hero Academia that I may not agree with, but those things are minor. I enjoy the story as a whole. I enjoy the world building. I enjoy the characters and the character building and the character development. Everything about My Hero Academia has been chef's kiss to me. It has been a phenomenal read for me to go from the beginning where we get introduced to Midoriya, a quirkless individual who had no quirk, and we're here. Now we're here at a moment where we see Midoriya trying to learn the last bit of the final quirks from the final users, and I'm just engaged into this story. I need to know more. I need to know how this story ends. Not just because I want to get it over with, but because the story grips me, because it's that good. So I don't get people's whole opinion on thinking that just because one solitary chapter comes out, it ruins the entire series. Horikoshi is not the writers from Game of Thrones. He actually knows how to keep things consistent. And yes, I'm calling them out because that final season for Game of Thrones just ruined the entire series as a whole. It's trash. Horikoshi is not trash. What he writes is not trash. Horikoshi is a better writer than people who did... How long is Game of Thrones? Hold on. When did Game of Thrones start? Because I'm about to drop some knowledge on all of you. From 2011 all the way up, from April 7, 2011, all the way up until what? It ran all the way to 2019. For 8 years. For 8 years, Game of Thrones ran. And it took their last season. It took their last season to pretty much undermine everything that they did with their series. Horikoshi actually knows how to keep things consistent. And that's why the story is still going strong, and that's why it's so phenomenally written. And that's why I highly suggest to people to read My Hero Academia, because it's such a great story. I'm droning on for far too long. I apologize. I'm mad that Stars and Stripes is dead. A lot of people were, but if she was still around, her New Order quirk would have made short work of a lot of people. Think about it. All you have to do is just say the name of a person and command them to do whatever. Like telling a person, if you move, your heart will stop. That person's dead. That's it. She could do that to anyone. Horikoshi is trash. Ah, yes, and the millions of copies all over the globe are there for nothing. Exactly. There's a reason why My Hero Academia has been doing so phenomenally well. I don't know why. Oh. Clouds just changed. It just got cloudy all of a sudden. I gotta get a light later. But let me go ahead and end this stream just by saying that My Hero Academia is a phenomenal series. We're in the final battle arc, and I'm just here to see this story through to the very end because I love this series. I love One Piece, I love Solo Leveling, and I love My Hero Academia. And this story just proves that out of all the stories that I've read through and watched anime and movies and stuff like that, this story is so gripping, it is so engaging, that I don't see how anyone could ever really hate this series. I honestly don't. But people have their right to their opinions, even when they're wrong. All I know is that this story is great, and I am so glad that I'm able to share my emotions and my reactions to this entire story as a whole with all of you. So I really hope I didn't talk your ears off. I just gotta be honest with all of you guys. I want to be honest, and I know some people will take offense to what I say concerning them and the things that they like or things that they hate or their opinions on things, but I can't be me if I just can't say what's on my heart. So if you have an issue with what I said about My Hero Academia or basically anything else I talk about, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's you. I can't make you be mad. Only you can. That's just me. I was just like, I'm gonna say what I'm going to say, and I don't care if people don't like it. I gotta be real. And my realness means that I'm gonna give you the very best opinion on My Hero Academia, and all I can say is it's phenomenal. And it deserves every bit of acclaim and recognition that it garners from every chapter and every volume that it publishes. And I'm glad that I fill it on my shelf back there. It's just a phenomenal series. So, with that being said, like I said, hope I didn't talk your ears off. I tend to lose quite a few people when I start monologuing a little bit, but I just gotta say, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video, and if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then consider subscribing, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples. Good Lord, I love my job.